Hello guys, you are most welcome to today's tutorial, and today I am super overly excited to take you through a tutorial on how to choose a good font for your web design. Now let's get more into this. There are three major things that are inevitable when you want to choose a good font for your web design, and no matter what you do, you can't stick them out. The first one is how to choose your font style or the font style you are choosing. The second one is the font color, and the last one is font size. Now when you get all these three major things right, then you are good to go. You wouldn't have much problems on which font style is good or which font is perfect for your web design. Now let me give you more information. When it comes to font styles, it is very easy, or it is very common or very tempting for you to use a lot of font styles for your web design or in your website, but try to avoid it at all costs, because using multiple font styles is not going to make your work or your design looks good or neat. It's just going to make your design looks cluttered and so unprofessional. So it is always better to stick to a maximum of just 3 font styles. When you're trying to come up with something creative, you can stick to just 3 or 2 and still come up with something very creative. Don't use too many font styles for just one design. It is a bad thing to do. When it comes to font styles, knowing your target audience also makes it very easy to choose the right font style for the right audience, because once you know your target audience, you know what they like, what they prefer, what they can easily relate to, and it will enable you choose the best font style. For instance, if you are creating a website or a web design for children, it is okay to use font styles like Comic Sans or Frosty as your font style. But you can't use that same thing for a very professional business website. It is so wrong. You can use something like Times New Roman or maybe Arial for a very professional website. Now, when choosing a font style as well, make sure that your font style is readable and it's also very clear, because you are inculcating it for a purpose. You want people to read that information. So you don't want to choose any font style that is very difficult to read. Now, let me quickly show you some examples for this to be clearer. This is a first example of a font that is very difficult to read. You can't even identify which alphabet is it. You can't find out if it's A or N, if it's B or C or E. This is a font that you should never use in your website. Let's look at the second example. Now, this second example is equally bad. This font is just so bad, and it makes it difficult for you to read whatever information that is here. If you use this kind of font in your web design or your website, no one will know what you want to say, or no one will be able to read that information. Let's look at more examples on a website. This is a second example of another font that is not so friendly and easy to read unless you zoom in. So when I zoom in, now I know that this is accessories. Even it's still very difficult to tell what each alphabet is. This I right here is very difficult to see that this is an I. It's very difficult to see that this is E, L. Never use font styles like this. This is a very bad example, and this website is not doing good at all. This is a very bad example of a font to use. Make sure that anytime you are using a font, it is readable. Now let's look at another example, a good example. Okay, now this website has made use of very good examples of, they chose the right font style. You can see that all information here is readable. I can read this information right here. I know this is National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. And when you quickly scroll up, all the information is readable, it's very clear, and the font styles they use are just perfect for their kind of website. And this is how you should be using your font styles. Always choose font styles that are very clear. And as you can see, this is a business page, business organization. So they use a good font styles and not just any comic font style or a font style for fun or jokes. So stick to this. And let's move on to the second thing you need to consider when you need to choose a font style. The second most important thing is the font color. Font colors are very important, and colors in general are very important and crucial to your web design or to your website. Once you use colors that are good for your web design, then it creates harmony and everyone will love whatever creativity you've been able to bring out. Now, font colors can be very problematic when the color, that particular color being used for the font, is not gentle on the eye or is not friendly with the eye. When you want to use a particular font color, make sure that that font color is not too loud, and make sure that you don't put a loud font color over a loud background. So make sure that the color of the background is not too loud, and make sure that the color of the font style is not too loud, because once you put a loud color or a very sharp color over a very sharp background, then it becomes very difficult. They'll be competing with each other, and it becomes very difficult and piercing to the eye. Now, when you are applying colors or when you are applying font colors, do not use too many font colors in your web design or your website. When you use too many colors, your web design is just going to be in shambles, and no one is going to appreciate whatever creativity you have put together. Let me show you some examples to make things clearer. This is a first bad example of using too many colors for just one font or for just one design. These colors are just too many. We have red, we have green, we have yellow, we have black, we have white, we have this. The colors are just too much, too many colors for just one web design. This is very bad, or this is a very bad example of using too many colors for a font for just one design. Let's look at the second example. Now, this website is just totally in shambles. The website is so bad. The font color for the text or the font is just too bad. It's very difficult to read. Now, when you look at this information right here, okay, it's a loud color. The text has a very sharp color, and also the background, which is yellow, is also sharp. So you have to zoom in before you can be able to read whatever information that is here. Now, even if you zoom in, it's still very difficult for you to read, and you have to come really close. This is another example, okay? A red background over a red text over a red background. This is very difficult to read, and even when you zoom in, it's still very difficult to read as well. Never use too many colors, too many font colors for just one design. You have green, you have yellow, you have black. This is just too much for one website, and you need to avoid something like this because it's not friendly to the eye at all. Let me quickly show you a good example. Now, this website has a very good example. You can see that the font color is white and it's over a mild background. The blue is okay, and the text is readable. It's also very gentle on the eye and friendly as well. Now, this website didn't use too many colors. They were able to stick to at least 3 colors, which is also good. We have a dark shade of brown, or a lighter shade of brown, sorry. Now we have black, and it's just good. The website is good. No, they don't use too many colors. All the texts are readable. You can read whatever information that is there. And you can see right here that white is gentle on this shade of cream. It's good. And black is also gentle on the background, which is white. So all the fonts are very readable, and you'll not struggle to read any information that is on this website. It has less colors, and it also has less colors when it comes to font. So you can practice something like this, and your website will be good to go. For you to choose the right font, or for you to choose the right font color, and even the right color combinations in your web design, you can use Adobe Color Scheme to do so. And I'm quickly going to give you a brief on how Adobe Color Scheme enables you to choose the right color combinations and also the right color for your website or your web design, and which colors do not do well with each other, and which colors also have bad contrast when it comes to combining them. Now let's get more into this, and let me show you an example on Adobe Color Scheme. Now let me show you a quick example of how the Adobe Color Scheme works. So right here I have a website, and I've already installed the color picker on my laptop. So the first thing I'll do is to click on this color picker right here. Now once I click on this color picker, you can see that this rectangular or square box pops up for me. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to click on the background. So I'm going to click on the background, and I'm going to copy the background color. So just copy the background color from here and go to Adobe Color Scheme. Now when you go to Adobe Color Scheme, you see color wheel, you see extra theme, extras gradient, and accessibility tool. Click on accessibility tool. Once you click on accessibility tool, because you copied the background color, just locate background color from here and delete the color code and paste in the color code you copied. Then press enter on your keyboard. Now you can see that the color code I copied has reflected on Adobe color code. Now let's go back to the website and copy the color code for the text. So let's exit out of this. Click on the color picker and let's try to select or locate the color of the text. Okay, right click and copy the color of the text. Let's move back to Adobe color scheme. Now when you move back to Adobe color scheme, locate text color and paste the color code in the text color container. Then press enter. Now when you press enter on your keyboard, it gives you the background color and also the text color. So when you look at the contrast ratio, you can see that is red. We have a red button right here. This red button means that the contrast between your text and your background color is not good enough. So when you come down here or when you scroll down, you can see from this information that the regular text is not visible, or when your content is in a regular mode, it is not visible. When it's in the large format as well, it is not visible. And when it's in a graphic component or symbols or images, it's not also visible. So we have fill, 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 fill. Now Adobe Color Scheme gives you suggestions you can use. On your right hand side, you can see suggestion 1 and suggestion 2. Now when I click apply on the first suggestion, you can see that it has changed. The contrast ratio has changed and it is no longer red. This time around it is green. And again, when you scroll down, you can see paths for regular text, you can see paths for large text, and you can also see paths for graphic components, which is an indication that your information is going to be readable, whether it be it on a large text, on a regular text, or on a graphic component. And this is also an indication that the contrast ratio between your text color and the background color is excellent and is good to go. Now you can decide to explore a whole lot of things from Adobe Color Scheme. Just explore to see how best it can help you choose the right color choices and the right color combination. When you click on explore right here, it gives you a variety of color combinations you can use. So when I click or when I type in yellow, Adobe Color Scheme is going to give me a combination of other colors that blends well with yellow and how I can use them. So feel free to explore Adobe Color Scheme, and this is the right tool to help you choose the right font for your web design or the right color combination for anything at all you would want to design. The third most important thing to consider when choosing a font for a web design, or if you want to choose a good font for your web design, is to consider the font size. Font sizes are very important. It can affect the users or the online readers' accessibility to whatever content is on your website or is in your web design. Now make sure that you are not using a font size that is too small and very difficult to read. This can be very bad for your web design or your web content. Now also do not use fonts that are too large, because when the font is unnecessarily large, it becomes very non-responsive on mobile phones. So when it's being showed, or when the website or web design is being viewed on a mobile phone, some of the text gets missing because it was too large. Don't use fonts that are unnecessarily large, and don't use fonts that are also very small, which makes reading difficult. If you don't use the right font size, things are going to be difficult. Reading is going to be difficult, and your viewers might get frustrated and just leave your website, and they might never ever return again. Let me quickly show you examples of fonts that are too small and also fonts that are large and does not appear well on mobile phones. Now we are going to use the same example I use when talking about choosing font color. Now, when it comes to font size, this information right here is just too small. This website didn't do well at all. The font size is just too small. I'm struggling to read this information right here, and I'll have to zoom in. Even when I zoom in, it's still very difficult to read because the font size is just too small, very, very small for anybody to use or have access to that information. Let's look at a second example. This example is also a bad example of a font size used in a website. The font size is just too small, which makes reading very, very difficult, and you should avoid doing things like this. Let's look at another example of a font size that is unnecessarily big and it doesn't even appear properly on the mobile phone. Let's look at the second example of a font that is too large for a mobile phone. Now, this font right here is a bad example of a font size that has been used. The font size is not responsive on the mobile phone. As you can see right here, some information has been cut off and the web user or visitor cannot have access to whatever information that is in here. So that means the information is not clear and they will never take any action when it's like this. So anytime you are using a particular font size, make sure that that font size is responsive on all other devices, or else you are creating a website or you're creating a web design that is bad. With all the explanation and examples I have given you today, and also how to use Adobe color scheme to get the right combination, I believe you now know how to choose a good font for your web design. Let's summarize everything we have done for today. The first one is to consider your font style. Always use a good font style and a font style that is readable, and use the good font style for the right website or the right web design. The second one is to consider the font color. Do not use too many font colors for one web design, and also don't use a loud or a sharp font color over a loud or a sharp background, and make sure that colors are always readable when you are using them. Now, the last thing to consider is the font size. Don't use font size that are too small, which makes reading very difficult, and also font sizes that are too much unnecessarily large, which might not even be responsive on a mobile phone. So this is a summary of everything we have learned today, and thank you for sticking with me from the beginning to the end. And I know this tutorial has been very educative and useful. If it has, you know what to do at this point. All you have to do is to click on the subscribe button right below, and I will always come your way with more interesting and educative content for you to learn something new. Thank you for subscribing to the channel, and I will see you in the next tutorial.